The Dallas Mavericks traded Luka to the Lakers? Why? And what is all this about his lack of conditioning and not being in shape? What's up with that? And how does this parallel our own lives? What does it mean to be spiritually in shape or spiritually out of shape? Let's unpack it. Welcome to the Unpacking It podcast, where we unpack parallels, metaphors, and topics in sports that relate to life and faith. I'm Bryce Johnson in downtown Mount Holly, North Carolina, just outside of Charlotte. My producer Aaron's here today, and we are fired up to talk NBA for the first time in a long time. It has been all football on this show for the last few months, and of course, the Super Bowl is this weekend, and I'm fired up for it. This NBA trade has taken my attention, and then Saturday night, my Duke Blue Devils took care of the Tar Heels, so I'm repping the Duke gear today. But that was a little bit of a distraction for the Super Bowl as well. But we'll gear up for the Super Bowl this week, and I want you to definitely check out the special episode. We will be releasing the Super Saturday Man Breakfast content. And so we recorded it, audio, video. So if you weren't able to make it this past Saturday, encourage you to check that out. So wherever you are listening or watching this right now, be sure to check out the Super Saturday special episode that will be coming out as well. And we had a wonderful Saturday morning. So thanks to all the guys that came out, all the volunteers and sponsors, and just a tremendous morning. And then our panel, Rob Moore and Jeremy Kelly, were phenomenal. So it was really, really strong. And so, of course, the Super Bowl was on our mind that morning, and it was fantastic. So, again, check that out and appreciate that. But today's show is all about Luka. It's about the NBA. But there is a message in here for you and I that I hope will be very freeing and encouraging and challenging as we continue to seek Jesus and desire to follow after him. I encourage you to also check out our website, unpackingit.com. If you haven't subscribed to our weekday email devotional, it goes out Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Check that out, unpackingit.com. And then also, if you consider joining our monthly support team, we need you. Help us continue to do the work that God is doing through Unpacking It, and we rely on monthly supporters. So thank you to all of you that already have joined that team, but encourage you to check out unpackingit.com/donate. Also want to thank our sponsor, Upward. They help make this show possible as well. Go to upward.org/unpack, and you can start a sports ministry at your church this year. So check that out. All right, let's take a pause from Super Bowl for a moment. And this trade that took place Saturday night, I woke up Sunday morning and I look at my phone, and our former co-host on this show, Luke Heaton, who used to work for Unpacking It, still a great friend of mine, and supporter of Unpacking It, sends me a text because he lives in Dallas. He's a Dallas Mavs fan, loves Luka. And I used to give him a hard time about Luka because I haven't always been a Luka guy. So I'll talk about that. But I get the text from Luka, and I'm like, wait, what? Luka? And then this was everybody's response. It's like, wait, this is a joke. I seriously, this was, it's still the morning. And I'm thinking, wait, is it April Fool's today? No, it's February 1st or whatever, February 2nd. What am I talking about here? It's like, let me get my bearings. And sure enough, of course, this trade was real, and we're still all grappling with the reality of it. I have enjoyed all of the discussion, Charles Barkley, all the different NBA insiders. I've been listening to everybody, Michael Wilbon, Bill Simmons, NBA guys. I'm an NBA guy. I love the NBA. Of course, I'm a huge NFL guy, but I live and breathe the NBA. And I have to be honest, this season so far has been really uninteresting to me. I haven't gotten into it yet, partly because the NFL has been awesome. But this trade has gotten me, I'm all in now. And as a Lakers fan, I'm thrilled by this trade. Now, I understand that Luka has some serious questions surrounding him, which we will unpack fully today. And I have not been a Luka guy. But Luka with the Lakers, with LeBron James, I like it. I can get behind it. Because here's what I really believe. I really believe that LeBron wants to play with Luka, has wanted to play with Luka. And the amazing part of this trade is they truly did it in secret. Because even Danny Ainge, who the Utah Jazz were a third team in this trade, they helped facilitate it. He didn't know that Luka was going to the Lakers. So this was all secretive. However, the Lakers knew that LeBron would want to play with Luka. But let's face it, everyone wants to play with Luka. What are you talking about here? All the Mavs want to still play with Luka. They're beside themselves. They got blown out by Cleveland the other night because they're picking up the pieces of their life, of their basketball life. So of course LeBron wants to play with them. What are we talking about here? He's not asking for a trade. He's embracing this. This is phenomenal. I was listening today too that this whole conversation, will LeBron be willing to mentor Luka? I believe he will. LeBron's about LeBron. Don't get me wrong. But LeBron is an NBA guy and he's a Lakers guy. And he cares about the future of the NBA. Because let's face it, he wants to be an owner one day. And so he wants the NBA to succeed. Well, the NBA's had a tough start this year. Luka going to the Lakers creates so much buzz, so much interest. And now the thought will be that he'll be there for a long time. And so the Lakers will matter. It's good for the NBA. It's good for the Lakers. So LeBron is going to play a role in this. But the other thing that can't be lost in all of this, LeBron is still playing at a really high level. He's still a top 10 player in the NBA. And so he's still an all-star. He's still awesome. So you put these two guys on the same floor, they'll figure it out. LeBron James has always played well with different types of superstars. Dwayne Wade, Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis, Chris Bosh. These are elite guys. Bosh. But these are top guys. He's figured out a way to play with them. So stop with all the, I've listened to the discussion. Oh, how are they going to play? They both like the ball. Hello, Dwayne Wade liked the ball. Kyrie Irving liked the ball. And they won championships together. They figured it out. Luka and LeBron, they're good enough to figure this out. And I think they can win a championship. And LeBron's still got enough left in the tank. Will it happen this year? Probably not. There's other teams that are just fully prepared and they've been playing together. Can the Lakers all of a sudden get LeBron and Luka on the same page and make a big playoff run? Maybe not enough time this year. But I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, maybe that's my Lakers delusion there, but Luka just took the Mavs to the finals last year after bringing Kyrie in. And those two guys, they both want the ball. I didn't think it would work, but it did work. Those two guys figured it out because they're good players. They're great players. LeBron and Luka are too. So I think they can figure it out. All right, so that's that part of it. So I really believe that LeBron was not even that he didn't have to be involved in the details of this trade actually happening. But Rob Pelinka, the GM for the Lakers, he knew that LeBron, hey man, we're going to trade for Luka. You're going to trade for Luka? Of course he would want Luka. Come on. All right. And then the other thing, JJ Redick, as the head coach, he played with Luka. So he knew about Luka. You think Rob and JJ had talked about that over the last couple of months? Man, wouldn't that be awesome to have Luka? Yeah, that would be a dream. That will never happen. So, and now here it is. It's reality. And now we got to look at it from the Mavs perspective. Did they really just give up on a 25, 26-year-old that had conditioning issues, maybe a lack of respect for the organization or the changes that they wanted him to make? Maybe. But I was thinking about it this morning. I mean, as a 25-year-old, like I had no clue about things. Like, you're still learning, you're growing, you're trying to figure things out. And in many ways, I was a dumb 25-year-old, and I can only imagine you put these guys in the NBA, they're dumb with $100 million. I was dumb with hundreds of dollars. But Luka, he's just not maximizing who he can be the last few years. And the Mavs have been frustrated by that, apparently. And so I just can't believe, though, that you would already give up on somebody at that age. Like, is there a chance that he never changes? Maybe. But continue to surround him with the right people so that he can change. You don't trade him. Because the NBA, you want the best players on your team. The very best guys in the league are the ones that win the championships. And every once in a while, you'll get the Detroit Pistons with Rip Hamilton and Ben Wallace, and they make a big run to the championship. Even last year, was Jason Tatum the best player in the league? No, but he's still, he's definitely a top 10 guy. if not better than that. And Jaylen Brown's in that mix too. And so the Celtics, they had a really good roster. Those are hard to find and all that. But over the years, Jordan won 6 because he was the best player in the league. Kobe and Shaq were the best players in the league. They won a bunch of championships. Kobe with Pau Gasol. So LeBron, all the championships because he was the best player in the league. You want the best player in the league. Luka has a chance always to be the best player in the league. He's right there as a top 3, top 5 guy and has been the last few years. So you want him on your roster. That's who you want. So the Mavs, you don't get rid of that guy under any circumstance. It's a silly thing. What are we talking about? And let's just say you do trade him, as everyone has talked about over and over, you have to get a haul for him. You have to get 1 million first-round picks. You have to get so many young prospects, and they didn't do it. They got Anthony Davis, who's good. But come on, he's on the downside of his career. He's hurt every other week. He doesn't like playing the 5. He doesn't like being the center, which he doesn't have to be in Dallas, so maybe you maximize that. But do I think that Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving are going to win a Super Bowl, win an NBA championship together? I don't. They can win one with LeBron, but can they win one together? I doubt it. So that's the way that the Mavs GM Nico Harrison is justifying this, that AD makes them better this year. and listen, I like defense. When I play basketball, I play defense. I value defense. I love guys that play defense. Kobe played defense. Jordan played defense. LeBron, in his heyday, played defense. So it's important. And Luka has to learn to play defense if he wants to be the very best, if he actually wants to win championships. I do believe that. But the idea that Dallas trades Luka because he's not good at defense yet or hasn't put in the effort yet, you just have to wait on him to get to that point because eventually he'll have to. You still just don't take the risk of getting rid of him. You just can't do that. To get Anthony Davis, who is a proven defender, come on. Anyway, it's a wonderful topic because there's so many layers to it. There's so many perspectives of it. There's so many things moving. The domino effects of all of this too. Yeah, I was reading something today. It just reminds us that Mark Cuban's no longer in charge of the Mavs because he never would have done this. So that's crazy to think that Cuban, all these years later, really sold his team and has nothing to do with it, even though he still is a minority owner. And the idea that LeBron isn't still pulling the strings, I still don't buy that. I think he's still very much involved in the future of the Lakers, and I think this extends his career. I think he'll play longer now because of this move. I really do. All right, so let's take a look though on the reason that is coming out to justify this trade even more so. So I don't buy. Oh, here we go. We get Anthony Davis. He helps us with defense. Okay, that's cute. The idea that the Mavs had enough of Luka, that they just said, all right, he's overweight. He doesn't care about conditioning. He balloons up right before training camp. Even during the season, he's been playing overweight, and then he gets injured. When he gets injured, then he adds more weight. And so all of the reporting is pointing to that was what the Mavs were fed up with. And again, we can argue if they should or shouldn't. That's what we're being told. And so this is what sources told ESPN. The Mavs were motivated to move Doncic because of his constant conditioning concerns. There had been significant frustration within the organization about Doncic's lack of discipline regarding his diet and conditioning, which team sources considered a major factor in his injury issues. And I buy that. I agree with that. You got to be in shape. And that's what makes LeBron and Tom Brady and Kobe so admirable from a physical standpoint, being able to extend their careers, being able to be at tip-top shape consistently. And Doncic, Luka has to understand that. And the fact that he hasn't been willing to embrace that is disappointing. And I point to immaturity and also this attitude that I can get away with it. I just took the Mavs to the finals. I'm an MVP candidate every year. Me and Michael Jordan are the only two guys to average over 30 points in the playoffs. What are you talking about? Me getting into shape? I don't need to get in shape. I'm doing all this stuff for the Mavs. But as we know, and as the Mavs understand too, you can't keep that up for long. Eventually it catches up with you. And it's fine when you're 25, and I'm dealing with it too. I can't have those late night snacks anymore now that I'm 38. So it catches up to you. And then you start feeling, oh man, now my back's starting to hurt. So that's what happens even with these NBA guys. So now Luka's dealing with an injury. He hasn't played since Christmas. He only played 22 games. It's frustrating. And if you start projecting this out over the next few years, you're like, man, it's only going to get worse from the Mavs perspective. But again, I would push back, hey, you got to get this guy on board and figure it out versus trading him away. But nonetheless, as we consider this concept of Luka being overweight and Luka unwilling to be disciplined and have self-discipline, self-control, care about this aspect of being an NBA player, taking care of your body. It's disappointing, but here's the parallel for us today. Are we spiritually in shape or are we spiritually out of shape? And what kind of self-control and self-discipline are we operating with? And are we continuing to, make the excuse, I'm young, or I'm 25, I'm still figuring it out? Or is it time to get serious about our faith? Is it time to be truly committed to following Jesus? And part of that means having the self-control and self-discipline to be obedient, to follow him in all areas of our life. And so this concept of being overweight or carrying unnecessary weight is a huge part to us as followers of Jesus, living in freedom and maximizing who God has created us to be and all that he wants to do in us and through us. But if we're carrying unnecessary weight, specifically carrying sin, that we're continuing to be bogged down by the sin in our life, then we're not thriving and we're not maximizing, again, the gifts and the talents and who God has created us to be, to serve him for his purposes, for his glory. And so in what ways do we need to drop the weight, so to speak? Here's what it says in Hebrews 12:1. Let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up, and let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. So what's weighing us down? In what ways do we need to strip off and release and let go of the things that are dragging us down and holding us down? And do we think, I can get away with this because, hey, look at this. I'm doing this good, this or that. And I'm winning championships. And no, you're not. Luka's not winning championships. You're not winning championship. You got to the finals. You're not winning it. And so for us, it's like, I'm doing this good or that good. Okay, fine. That's great. But what are we holding on to? What's dragging us down? What is that weight that's tripping us up? And it's preventing us from really going all the way, right? Going all the way with Jesus. Just like the weight seems to be preventing Luka from going all the way. So will he be willing to make those changes and drop the weight? And I believe LeBron will help him with that. And so that's a great parallel for us too. Who in our lives is helping us drop the weight? Who's holding us accountable to that? And are we listening to it? Because they'll argue, the Mavs, that people had been telling Luka, right? And he wasn't listening to the advice. So what was that? Stubbornness, pride. Okay, so for us, are we operating with the stubbornness and pride too? Where people are saying, hey man, you got to drop that. Like that's weighing you down, man. That's holding you back. That's preventing you from moving forward. Are we listening? And are we, putting the things in place, the accountability to be able to have the self-control and the self-discipline and the encouragement and the ongoing challenge to say, all right, I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to keep growing in this area. I'm going to let go of the things that are holding me down. In 1 Corinthians 9:27, Paul gives us this good example of how to value obedience and discipline, where he says, I discipline my body like an athlete, training it to do what it should. Otherwise, I fear that after preaching to others, I myself might be disqualified. So he's out there preaching and sharing the gospel and telling others about Jesus. Well, he has to make sure that he's training and disciplining his body and more importantly, spiritually speaking, to be able to finish strong and not be disqualified. And so for us, what are we doing in regards to our spiritual practices, our spiritual training, in order to remain spiritually in shape? Are we lackadaisical and taking things for granted and like, I don't need to do that. I don't need to work out here, spiritually speaking. And do we have the attitude that Luka has? Or do we look to, some of the examples from a sports standpoint, Tom Brady, LeBron, those guys, Kobe. And then for us spiritually, who are we looking to that, man, that guy finished strong. That guy really disciplined and really disciplined in his time with the Lord every day, disciplined in his prayer life, disciplined in his intentionality with his family, and looking to those guys, for advice and saying, okay, evaluating our own lives. Yeah, I'm not really spiritually in shape. I've got some sin in my life and some things that are holding me back from the discipline that I need. Paul also writes in 1 Thessalonians 4, 3-5, where he says, it is God's will that you should be sanctified, that you should avoid sexual immorality, that each of you should learn to control your own body in a way that is holy and honorable, not in passionate lust like the pagans who do not know God. And so we're called to a different life, sanctification, becoming more like Jesus, becoming holy, becoming, living a life that is honoring and set apart like Jesus. And so are we getting, sucked into the passionate lust of all the things around us and getting, sucked into the sins and the temptation, especially sexually, where he's talking about this in 1 Thessalonians. And then, of course, in other areas of sin as well. But we've got to control our own bodies, which means, controlling our minds and controlling our attitudes and perspectives and behaviors, and ultimately yielding to the Holy Spirit to change us, transform us, help us in this sanctification process, becoming more holy, becoming more like Jesus, becoming set apart. And so what steps are we taking in that regard? Or are we just so, loosey-goosey where we lack self-control? We give into temptation so easily. We don't put up the boundaries in our life. We don't take sin seriously. We flirt with sin. We're like, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And that appears to be the case with Luka in regards to his eating and lack of conditioning. He's like, a little bit here, a little bit there. Well, dude, now you're playing at a weight that is holding you back and causing injuries and preventing you from being out on the court. And so, for us, if we've got so much sin bogging us down, then we're not clear-minded and clear-hearted to go serve and be the light and the vessel that God can use. Right now, thankfully, God uses us in our brokenness and all that. So don't get me wrong. We don't have to live. We're not living perfect lives, but we're pursuing that. We're chasing after becoming more and more like Jesus, knowing that, hey, I can't do this on my own. I'm not going to be perfect, but man, I want to continue to grow. I want to become more honorable, more holy in the way that I carry myself in all areas: body, mind, spirit, emotions, all those things. And we need self-control. But again, that self-control isn't, well, I'm just going to pull myself up by my bootstraps mantra. It's no, I'm trusting in the Lord and I'm yielding to the Holy Spirit. And so is that the case for us? And are we becoming more and more spiritually fit? Because let's face it, I'll speak for myself. When I don't spend quality time with the Lord, I get off track. I become more, irritable and short-tempered and less loving and all those things. And so the parallel is I get spiritually out of shape. And so I got to get back into the gym, so to speak, right? I got to get back into God's word. I got to get back into that fellowship, that time with the Lord, and fill myself up with the right things, the good things, fill my mind and my heart with truth so that I can go out and maximize the ways that God wants me to serve him and serve others, which is serving him by serving others, and maximizing the way he's designed me with the gifts and talents that he gave me, the spiritual gifts specifically, for his purposes, for his glory. And so if I'm sidelined, right, with injuries, and I'm, because when we're carrying sin and we're bogged down by our past, or we've got bitterness and anger that's driving us, well, then we end up hurting ourselves and we end up hurting others. And so, we find ourselves on the bench a little bit, right? Don't we want to be out there, just thriving and experiencing God in such a fulfilling way? Well, we've got to be spiritually in shape to do that. And we got to take our spiritual conditioning seriously. And so again, in what ways are we overweight in carrying weight that we don't need to carry? Sin that we don't need to carry anymore. God offers us freedom in Jesus, freedom from the bondage of sin. Yes, we're going to struggle. Yes, we're going to have, weak moments, but we don't have to be, slaves to sin, bondage to sin, where it's repetitive sin. And we're so, I can't get over this. No, Jesus, through his power, gives us the ability to get free from the stuff that has been weighing us down. I really believe it. I've experienced it in my own life. Let me also share this. 1 Thessalonians 4, we read that, sorry. I got one more verse for us today. The challenge for us is, are we willing to every day surrender to Jesus, rely on the Holy Spirit to renew our thoughts and experience the freedom and the strength because of our faith in him? And are we going to, according to Romans 8:13, where it says, for if you live according to the flesh, you will die. But if by the Spirit you put to death the misdeeds of the body, you will live. So are we going to live according to the flesh or by the Spirit? Man, the Spirit gives us life. The Spirit gives us freedom. The Spirit gives us peace. The Spirit gives us joy. And sin leads to death. And sin, we just live this life of defeat. And so we carry the weight, and we don't have to. So let's trust the Spirit, live by the Spirit. And one other thing in regards to the weights that we're carrying, and this is probably a separate topic to a certain extent, but what burdens are we carrying as well? Are we overweight with burdens? Worry, fear, talked a little bit about that last week. Are those things bogging us down too and weighing us down? And we gotta surrender that to the Lord and give it to the Lord. He'll take our burdens from us because he cares for us. He loves us. So are we trying to hang on and control things and, no, I got it. No. Open hands. Take it, Lord. Take it. I want to be in spiritual shape to be the very best for the Lord. So is that our heart's desire today? And, here's the other final thought. Luka, you'll hear about this, the Supermax contract that was on the line in Dallas. In Dallas, they didn't want to give it to him, so they traded him. And now he's not eligible to sign that Supermax. And it looks like it'll cost him maybe $100 million. Now, we'll see. Does it, maybe he makes up for it later down the line. But nonetheless, his behavior in Dallas has cost him. It's cost him, $100 million. And so for us, in what ways, if we continue, and let's face it, he was being prideful and stubborn because he was unwilling to change his conditioning habits. He wasn't willing to do it. And so for us, in what ways is our stubbornness and pride costing us? What's it costing us? And so we want to remove that. And we have to trust the Lord and go to the Lord and say, God, I don't want to hold on to the stubbornness and pride. Take it from me. Reveal to me the things that I'm hanging on to and I'm unwilling to change, and change me, sanctify me, purify me as we rest in the finished work of Jesus, his grace, his love, and let's not cost ourselves blessings and the joy and the peace and the freedom that comes from walking by the Spirit, following Jesus. And so let's not miss out on all that God has for us because we're hanging on to sin and burdens and everything else that's weighing us down. Just let it go. Let's let it go and yield to the Holy Spirit. It's challenging, just like it was for Luka in Dallas. He just wanted to keep doing what he wanted to do. And hey, I'm getting to the finals. I'm in the MVP conversation. All right, well, now it's costing him. And now he's been humbled in a big way. So what's that going to take for us to sort of get that wake-up call? And people have been talking about that too. Like, this is the wake-up call for Luka. Is this a wake-up call today? Maybe through this podcast, it's a wake-up call. The Lord is stirring in your heart to say, hey, come on, drop it. Let's go. Let's move forward. I've got so much more for you. But I can't have you continue to hang on to this sin any longer. Trust me with it. I want to free you from it. So, again, I'll leave us with this. Hebrews 12:1. If you've been around the church for a while, you're familiar with this verse. But it says, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up, and let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. So I hope that that's encouraging for you. I know it is for me. And wow, what a wild trade in the NBA. But it's fun to talk a little NBA here. And I'll say it again, as a Lakers fan, I'm excited about Luka. It's going to be fun. I think he's going to. I'm trusting he's going to change with the Lakers because of LeBron, because of the influence of even JJ Redick, who also worked really hard and he extended his career because of how he took care of his body as well. So I think he'll learn from that. So who are we surrounding ourselves with, and who are we learning from as well to remain spiritually in shape? It's another great question to consider. Well, there you go. That's this week's podcast. Be sure to check out the Super Saturday Man Breakfast special episode wherever you are watching or listening to this. I hope you will enjoy that wonderful event that we had, that you can kind of relive it and experience it for yourself, especially for those of you that don't live in the Charlotte area. For Aaron, I'm Bryce. I'm a sports fan who follows Jesus. I believe in the good news that he died on the cross for my sin. He was resurrected, and through faith, I've been saved by his grace. I hope that is true for you as well, and I hope you'll join me as we live life as sports fans who follow Jesus together. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you next time right here on the Unpacking It podcast.